Okay, so welcome everybody. This is our webinar on Abstraction Now. I'm so glad you're all here with me, and I am going to be sharing some ways and some a little bit of history of why I'm so in love with abstract art and creating art that way, and also just a little bit on art in general, and then kind of round it out with a review of an upcoming class you might all be interested in at some point. But this is a good way to get your feet wet by watching this webinar. So I'm going to be admitting people periodically. Again, it'll hopefully be seamless. And I have my tech person, Armin, up there, who hopefully will let me know that this is going well on Facebook. So I'm just going to assume it is. And if it isn't, I've got a recording anyway. So I am not going to worry. I am going to start now a PowerPoint. And I want to again emphasize for you folks to use the chat for anybody wanting to ask questions, because I can pause and scroll through those and get back to you. This will last probably about 45 minutes to an hour. We'll just see how that goes. So I'm going to start my share screen and get the slideshow going. Okay, here we go. And play from the start. And you should be seeing that slideshow nice and big. All right. So I developed this PowerPoint because it helps organize the thoughts, and it really helps me not to forget to give you all certain information. So let's start with me. I did a favorite list here for you all to kind of get to know me and to find out a little bit about my roots in art. I thought this was a little more fun than a biography because I can intersperse it with things that I do. So my favorite artist, and I'm also going to feature him today in my artist review, is Robert Rauschenberg. He's considered now a modern artist. Contemporary artists are for artists that are working currently. He was born in 1925, passed away in 2008. I consider him a mentor, although I never ever met him. I did stalk his studio down on Captiva Island, hoping and thinking for sure I would meet him at the little grocery store. Never did. But Robert Rauschenberg is a hero of mine. And I found out about him when I was attending University of Cincinnati. That's where I received my Bachelor of Fine Arts. And he was presented in one of our contemporary art features. That was an elective course that we took. And I remember they played a film called Painters on Painting, and he was in a photo standing on a ladder, and I was hooked. He's a mixed media artist all the way, and he's also, which is very important to me, very much a collaborative artist. He likes to work with other artists, and he loves to connect with people. So my favorite color, and you'll see this throughout this PowerPoint, is the Golden Artist Colors Pyro Red. Very vibrant red, and I use it a lot in my work. I'm a working artist for Golden. I was certified back in 2005, so it's been quite a while now. And I see some of you out there have been in some of my lectures. And let's see, I'm going to get El Mesag in here. Here we go. Here he comes. So I've seen a lot of you in my lectures, and I will be giving one May 14th up at Studio 23. And it'll start at 1 o'clock. So that's a Saturday afternoon. And that's a free event. It's an in-person event. It's my first in-person event for Golden since 2019. And I'm super excited. It's the first one in Michigan. Now, I see June Nash out there. I'm actually going to be speaking to the Lakeside Palette group. Art Guild on May 2nd. It's a Monday. That's coming right up. And I will be speaking on behalf of my art, but of course I'm going to be using Golden products to demo for that group. And that will be another in-person event. I love both types of events. I love online and I love in person. Okay, here's my favorite habit. My favorite habit, and this is for my life, is the red book that you see down here. It's Morning Pages. It's simply a method developed by Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artist's Way, again, another favorite book. She developed a method of writing 3 pages, longhand or cursive, first thing in the morning, every single day. And for my 100-day project this year, I made that my goal to write every day. I think I've missed 10 days out of the 100. I'm up to 90 at this point. So I'm doing pretty good. And the thing about morning pages is you're so sleepy when you're doing them. It's just like a stream of consciousness. But the things that you write in there for some wacky reason come true. Like this class came out of it, and just all the different paintings that I do or demonstrations that I give, it gives me time to think and to organize my thoughts. So it's my favorite habit. My favorite process book is Celebrate Your Creative Self. And you'll see the cover back there, nice and big. That's by Mary Todd Beam. And she's influenced me since about the year 2000. She is an Ohio artist. She taught lots of workshops. I never had the pleasure of taking one from her, but I devoured this book and I still refer to it a lot. And of course, my favorite medium is acrylic. The reason being, I can do so many methods with acrylics. I can do painting with acrylic. I can do textures with acrylic. And I can do printmaking and even in kind of a faux encaustic look. So it's definitely a versatile medium for me. Now I'm going to stop this share for just a minute because I want to check in to make sure everybody's hearing me and seeing me, and take a peek at chat here too. Everybody doing good? Okay, I don't see anybody stuck in the waiting room. So far, so good. Okay, let's get back to that screen now. All right. So I have a studio in Midland, and I have a couple of studios. One is the Fifth Street studio, which is down in Geisler Enterprises. It's near Dow Diamond, and it's a pretty large space, and I enjoy it a lot. And then my other studio is the one you're seeing me here from today, and that is my Zoom studio, I call it. So I've got all my supplies handy here, and I can reach everything while I'm talking to all of you. Now, I'm approaching this, and I learned about this in our recent podcast. We have a podcast for Art Ladders with Armin, and I go on every other week with a topic or an interview with an artist. And Sally Hurst was our most recent guest, and she talked a lot about operating with a growth mindset. And if you're in any kind of entrepreneurship, or let's say any type of business management, you may have already heard about this. It's the fixed mindset versus growth mindset. And I'm approaching everything I do now, after hearing Sally speak about it, with a growth mindset. I'm trying, and I think I always kind of naturally did that, but I'm going even more full in with it. So I want you to think about approaching your artwork with a joyful spirit of play that will lead you to an authentic content solution. I think when we're wrapped up in not making mistakes or trying to do it perfectly the first time out, we are frustrated, we aren't content, and we're never ever going to be happy with the result. But I recently taught this series of classes. It was different segments, but the founding group of the ones that took a chance and took this class, the one thing that I really sunk in with me at the end was they felt like when they were playing, they were coming up with better paintings and better results. And I thought, I'm going to take that to heart and emphasize that joyful spirit of play when you're creating your work. Art is very serious, a capital A, absolutely. But we can go into it with a positive and joyful spirit and see how that works for us. I think it's going to work pretty well. I I love to work with words, and I love trios of words. So the guiding words for my class series is process, because I believe process is power. You know, I'm an artist that's a process artist, as opposed to a narrative artist who would be telling a story. I'm subtly telling a story through my process, but for me, it's all about making. Okay, and then I need produce, to produce quantity, not worry so much about quality, but just start producing quantity while I'm having some fun. And then finally, there's a component of presenting your work. Now, presenting is what I feel you're giving your gift to others. You're taking a big step in showing your new artwork or your unfinished artwork, but you're presenting it. So it can be present or present. It's the same thing. And we do that at the end with our final critiques, but you can do it right now with social media by sharing your art. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to communicate with others. And this new mindset is all about number one, curiosity. Number two, positive energy. And I had a college professor tell me this, Val, talent is not the thing. Perseverance is the thing. Perseverance is where you get the results. Hang in there. And then finally, lifelong learning. I'm a lifelong learner. I think a lot of you are too. And how wonderful is that we can now take time for ourselves and do even more of that. Now, the supply list, I'm actually going to review that again right before I do a painting demo, but it's super easy. The supplies that can get you going in painting in general. You need a sketchbook, a Sharpie and a pencil to do drawings in your sketchbook, a few paintbrushes, a palette knife, some acrylic paints, or could be watercolor, or could be oil, some gel mediums if you're working in acrylic, a bunch of collage items that you just, what I do is I have a little brown bag from Lalonde's Market, and I throw in all sorts of things like onion bags or coffee boxes, and I save them up for supplies, any kind of packing material. And then finally, you'll need some panels, some canvas boards to paint on. Now that's supplies in a nutshell, and I'm going to go over that again in a minute, but we're going to move forward here. So I'm going to explore some art materials. I'm going to do a little demo here for you because I believe in learning about it before you buy it, before you shop for it. And so with this little demo, you'll be able to see if you really want to buy some of this. So let's stop the share and we'll get in with this demo. How's everybody doing out there? So far, so good? Great, great. Appreciate it. Here we go. All right. So before I get too far, I want to share in the chat a bunch of links. Let's see if I can pull that off right now. Okay, bear with me 1 minute. These links are going to be the links where you can find out all sorts of information about what I'm talking about. Here we go. And also that detailed supply list will be in the links. Let's see. And we'll get that out to everyone in the meeting. Okay. Well, you know that I can't seem to get that to work right now. Let's not worry about that because I'm going to, I can send you all a PDF of this meeting. And the supply list is also on the Eventbrite listing for the class as you scroll down. So we'll figure that out. All right. Now, I'm going to get my other camera rolling here, and this will be a overhead camera where you can see this demo on some product that I'm going to share with you. So here we go. All right. Okay, so I'm going to show you today a technique that will give you the look of faux gold leaf, and it is so easy to do. And this will let you know if you want to buy some iridescent paints I love iridescent paints. They have a shimmer and a glow that is like none other. So let's get started with this. So the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down a notebook sheet protector, and I'm taking a simple sheet of tissue paper. Doesn't have to be fancy, archival, or anything. It's just tissue paper you would find in the gift wrap department. And the reason I'm putting down this sheet protector is the tissue paper is so thin that this iridescent paint is going to kind of seep through a little bit, and I really don't want it to stick to the rest of my table here. Okay, so this is iridescent fine gold. This is an acrylic paint. Any iridescent paint of any brand would work in acrylic. So if you may have some, you may already have some in your toolbox of paints. I'm just going to pour it out. I could pour it out on a palette. In fact, I did pour it out on a palette here. I've got a little palette going for the day here. So I have my iridescent gold. I have a little bit of gloss medium running here. I have some carbon black and some titanium white for another project I'm working on. So I'm going to take just a little, almost a chip brush here, and we're going to paint the tissue paper. And you see it gets kind of wrinkly, almost like that tissue thin real gold leaf papers that you can find that are so light and thin that they fly away in the wind. This is kind of the effect we're going to get here. This is such an easy technique, but has a lot of power when you get it all situated here. Look at those beautiful wrinkles. I love that. And I'm kind of mimicking a little bit of cross hatching here that you might see with a gold leaf in real life. So this is a very economical way to get the effect of gold leaf too. So I'm painting right on top of that notebook sheet protector. Easy breezy. Okay, let's set the palette aside. Here we go. You can see I've got it right on there. It doesn't come through a lot, but it does tend to stick a little. So let's set this aside and presto chango. We have a dried version that has actually come off the little tissue off the sheet. But look, so now I have this beautiful, beautiful crinkly paper that I'm even going to crinkle some more to give a little more character. Okay, look at that. And then here I come. I'm going to cut it into squares. So let's just even out these edges. And we'll work with little tiny squares of this on top of a mixed media piece here in a minute. So let's do like little 2-inch, maybe 1 inch by 2.5 squares, kind of keeping them the same size. Okay, let's do another band of them. To me, they have a feeling of luxury, a feeling of Renaissance times. When I think of gold leafing, I think of ornate frames, very formal. Okay, that'll get me rolling. Okay. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take a mixed media piece. I have about, I don't know how many of these that are kind of prepped up, ready to go. And basically it's a collage piece with an underpainting of that beautiful pyro red I told you about right at the get-go. And also this has been stenciled. There is a little bit of relief here with some soft gel gloss. And now I'm going to take a clean brush here. And with gloss medium, I'm going to lay that right down on top of this piece. And what's nice about that red being in the background, that kind of mimics what you would see in an antique frame that has been gold leaf. It's the underpainting that they use. And then I coat it again with the gloss medium. And you see what I'm doing now? I hope you can see that. I'm creasing around those edges, so I'm getting a little bit of relief there, a little bit of a 3-dimension. Let's go on to the next section. And so this is telling a story, kind of a story now, of covering up what you already did. I'm not holding any of this underneath as precious. This is all going to add up to the finished version that will be almost like a gold-plated plaque, something like that. Let's put one more. I'm deliberately leaving little bits of red to shine through. And this tissue paper is so pliable and nice. It just goes around there. So building up. This is where that stencil is. That means it's going to have a little more of a depth to it. So let's try one of those pieces. Let's alternate here. Okay, now upside down. Could use my fingernail, but see how the relief is starting to show up. There is a little bit of the gloss medium on top, so when this dries, the gold will show up even more. But right now, that gloss medium is a little bit white. Let's press this out. Oh, I tore it, but no big deal. In fact, I'm going to deliberately tear it. Makes it look more like gold leaf. So you start to see the intersections right here. So I would just, let's see if I can quickly cover the rest. Let me show you how I would handle an edge here. I would take this piece and wrap it right around. And that is actually a pretty good look to finish that off too. Here we go. So all you would need to do as a project like this would be white tissue paper, some sort of a background. Let's go back to this finished one here. Here the background is painted like a red oxide. And then this is a peacock feather that has been stenciled first using soft gel gloss and dry. Then it's painted the red. Then you paint your tissue with the iridescent gold, and finally you collage it on top, and away you go. It's just a pretty elegant look. It's fairly subtle, but you get the feel of it. So that's a fun project. In some of my in-person demos and workshops, this would be a project that we would do, and people would choose what sort of stencil that they'd like to use on it. All right, so let me get back to me for a minute. Here I come. Okay, great. I'm just checking for questions here. Somebody did ask, are we going to get the recording of this session? Yes, I will be placing it on the Art Ladder's Facebook page. So you will get a video of this to watch. And if you're not on Facebook, just send me an email at valerieallenart@gmail.com and I can get it to you that way as well. Good question. Okay, so let's go back to the screen now. So here's my artist review on Robert Rauschenberg. And this is the type of review that I would do in every session of our 5-week class, because I found that when I was in college, I didn't get enough of this. In art school, I didn't get enough about hearing about current artists that were working in the day. So I've kind of subdivided the artists into groups, modern artists being the artists from 1900 to about 1960, 1970. And Robert Rauschenberg did a lot of his work during that time period. He kept going until 2008, though, of course. He was active right up to the end. But, and then I also present a brand new current working artist. I don't go into an in-depth art historical slideshow because that was the ones that would make me fall asleep, but I would try to keep these very short and easy to follow, and not a ton of information, more visual than anything else, and more quote related. So you'll see what I mean. So there's Robert in his studio. That's the studio in Captiva that I always wanted to catch him in, but never did, never home. I do have this side note. He was heavily involved with the community college in Fort Myers, Florida, being that close in Captiva. And he did a show there in their gallery, and also printed a 2K poster, year 2000 poster. And my friends knew how much I loved him. They lived in Florida. So they went to that opening, and they did meet Robert Rauschenberg, and they had him sign one for me. So that is framed and treasured in my home. Love it. So here is his painting, Skyway. This is 215 inches, which I divided out, meaning 17 feet high. And I kid you not, I went to Dallas about a week ago, and we walked into the Dallas Art Museum. I had no clue this was there. I walk in, I look across the courtyard, and I go, oh my God, they have a Robert Rauschenberg. And my aunt said, oh, how do you know? How do you know that's Robert Rauschenberg? I said, I will bet everybody steak dinner here if that's not a Robert Rauschenberg. Sure enough, I won. And they took a photo of me next to it, and I look like about the size of that little man down in the lower center bottom there. I mean, it dwarfs you. It's just amazing. It's done in oil paint and silk screen. So the silk screening gives him that photographic transfer look. He uses transfers lots of ways. And there are lots of ways that I know to teach people how to do transfers. So this is just a wonderful painting. And moving on to his quotes, and I just bond with him on all of this. Curiosity is the main energy. It's the energy that gives us ideas. It's the energy that can get us in trouble, but a lot of times it leads to a solution. So curiosity is the main energy. And then the other one I love is you begin with the possibilities of the material. So he is definitely a process artist. He would use anything from lipstick, nail polish, tire tracks. I'm trying to think, old taxidermy statues would be in there, old quilts, and also all the transfers of images and rubbings. He really developed a style with frottage, which is a rubbing of something that with texture, say, for example, a lot of people do rubbings of gravestones or stonework or brass work. So his idea of drawing is not drawing per se, drawing it literally and rendering it. His idea of drawing is coming up with accidental marks through the use of frottage. He once took a drawing of one of his famous friends, and I believe it might have been Willem de Kooning, but don't quote me on that. He took one of famous artist's drawing and just erased every single bit of it, but erased it with such a loving touch that he didn't ruin the paper. He didn't harm it. Of course, the artist had given permission for this because it became an event at that point. At that point, it's a happening, so he erased it all and then drew on top of it. So it's those types of things. He would collaborate with theater groups. He would collaborate with composers. He would collaborate on the idea of international peace. He just believed that artists are a part of history and that we tell history. And boy, is that ever true. We, by doing our work, we're showing what's happening in all works, in beautiful work or social practice work, but artists are telling the history. So you can see how fired up I get about Rauschenberg. He is just a hero of mine. Now, for my inspirations, and I'm showing you a little bit about my own work here. My inspirations come from very, very basic areas, meaning I create abstract paintings from nature. That's one group that I work with. This is a series of paintings where I'm actually grabbing things off of trees, inking them up, printing them on the paper. I have that iridescent paint that I was talking about, only this time it's silver. I have the pyro red going on, and I have some quinacridone nickel azo gold as a glaze because it's a very, very transparent color. And so those inspirations can come for me from nature. Another area they can come from is from architecture. I love to create paintings from architecture. This is, I visited Athens. I spent a month in Greece way back in 2000, basically changed my life, but this was the Parthenon. And then I created a autobiography of myself where I'm Athena, and this is called Athena's Domain. And the columns for me are very iconic. They became a symbol. And this is heavy in the iridescence as well. And then I can also work in a just completely abstract and be inspired by the elements of art, line, shape, form, space, texture, value, and color, and just work with that and not have to have a story running through my head. I'm organizing, I'm composing, I'm showing contrast, I'm showing balance, I'm using colors sparingly, and then the pop of yellow to just liven everything up. So that's working intuitively, but then I'm making intentional decisions. So it's not random. It starts out kind of random. It starts out playful and then starts zeroing in, but then it shoots back to playful again when I start splattering all over it. So there's a lot of physical activity in abstract work as well. Starting a painting. Okay, this is going to be another demo, and let's get rolling with this. So stop the share. We're going to start up a painting here, and we'll go to my overhead. Here we go. Okay, so we got that one rolling. I'll finish this up. You never know when this might show up on Instagram. So we'll set that one aside. And I am going to shoot through a little bit more detail on that supply list here, just so you can see how everyday these things are that I work with. So I work with a few materials here for drawing. I use charcoal sticks. I use ebony pencils. They're made by Prismacolor. They're the equivalent of a 6B pencil, but I like them. A lot of designers use them. They're extra smooth. This one has paint all over it because not only do I draw with these, I also mark and do my paint with these. So they're a little messed up, but that's okay. That's how I want them to be. Simple Sharpie. I use that in my sketchbook. I work with a palette knife or a painting knife, either one. You can buy these in metal or also in plastic. They're nice to have in your toolbox. My brushes. Okay, let's get some brushes out here. Where's my great big one? Okay, here we go. I use 3 shapes of brushes pretty exclusively. And there we go. These are my filberts. I work in acrylic and I'm pretty hard on my brushes. So I don't buy extremely expensive, but they're nice brushes. The filberts are known for their rounded top there. Okay. And this is a flat. I use the flats as well. They have a long bristle with a flat edge. And then finally the round, which is a pointed round brush that you can almost draw with. So those are the series of brushes that I work with. If I'm picking out brushes, I go bigger rather than smaller. Most of my brushes are 8 and above. With this one is about a 10, I believe. So 10s are very popular for me. Okay, so I told you about the notebook sheet protector. Very good to have on hand. Just the simple, this is the heavyweight, could be lightweight. The reason I like notebook sheet protectors is acrylic doesn't stick to them. So you can make a skin and peel it off. And I talk more about skins in the class when I get rolling with that. Simple tissue paper. Okay, here's another very exotic tool that I use. A hotel key for scraping or an expired credit card. Throw that in the mix. Then I like to work on canvas board. This is a canvas board. This is a 12 by 12, kind of the size of choice. So it's a simple, there we go. Canvas board there. Or I like to work on wood panels. So this has been cradled. Simple thin plywood on top. And I can prepare gesso and get that all ready to go. I also work on stretch canvas, but I like these surfaces because I can really scratch into them and give them a little bit of rugged work. Gives them a certain bit of history that looks very aged. And let's see here, I'm using gloss medium as my collage glue or to add to my paint. I'm using soft gel matte or soft gel gloss as another type of glue for collaging. It has just a touch more body than this one, so this is good for cardboards and fabrics. And then let's talk about the colors. I work with a very limited palette in the class. My 3 primaries right there: benzodiazolone yellow medium, phthalo blue green shade, and quinacridone red. These are the colors that I mix all my other colors from. And there is a virtual color mixing chart. If you Google Golden Artist Colors, color mixing online, virtual, you can put in your photos and it will tell you how to mix the colors. And these colors pop up quite a bit, but you can kind of look at your own range of colors in your studio and see if you have them in there, and you can get lots and lots of colors. My neutrals I use are the carbon black and titanium white. Titanium white is the more opaque of the whites, with zinc white being more translucent, but I go with a very simple palette for the class. And those are all in the fluid consistency, but you could also work in the tube style paint as well. No worries on that. And those come in smaller bottles. And then this time I am kind of reaching out and thinking that if everybody could have one iridescent color, again, I'm working in golden because that's where I work, but any brand of the iridescence would work. So iridescent gold, iridescent copper, iridescent silver would be handy in this 5-week series. That is it, but I want to show you this fun sketchbook I found on Amazon, of course. And it's a 12-inch sketchbook. I think it ran about $22. And it's brown craft paper color, which I find is a very neutral. And then it's heavier paper so that I can do my sketching. I can do collage right here in the book. Here I'm working with coffee filters and old prints that I did, and I'll be doing something on top of this. I'm not sure yet what. This is a sketch that I made based on some magazine photos where I'm just getting motifs and designs, and that's in the carbon black and the titanium white. And then this is where I was inspired by architecture. Some of you probably saw this on Instagram, but it's a house, architect designed home in Mumbai, India. And I just did a quick sketch of it using my colors, using that palette that I talked to you about. And I posted on Instagram, and sure enough, the architecture firm replied and hit like on it. That made me super happy. But this sketchbook has a ton of potential for not only sketches, but finished artwork. Because I recommend your sketchbook be at least the size of this sheet or as big as this 12 by 12. The paintings we work on are 12 by 12. Okay, let's get on with this painting now. So I have prepped up a canvas board in the Pyro Red. So I've already painted it. It's already dry, ready to go. So my next step, and again, I'm thinking about design elements, line, form, shape. It's constantly running through my head. And this is where I'm playing. I'm strictly playing. I'm breaking up the shape, thinking about what do I want to do? Do I want to do a grid composition? I think I do this time. So let's form a grid. Okay. Now on this palette, I've prepared some of that gloss medium. And I'm going to, if this will rub off on my fingers right now. So I want to set it, but I don't want to spray it. I want to get a very painterly look with this. So let's go with some paint, which is the gloss medium. Okay. Which will dry completely clear. Now I'm starting to play. Okay, you're thinking tic-tac-toe. That's what I'm going. Okay. This starts the process. I'm going to add some white. I'm going to create a different mark. This is kind of a form of scumbling at this point. Still in that very playful shape. Nothing precious. Where's it going to go? So it starts to become all about balance. There's a little bit of formality here. So let's see where we can take that. And then let's go to my beat up ebony pencil. And we start thinking energy and literal energy, making marks that have movement. Whoa, away from me. This is how I started painting. This will get me going. This gets rid of the fear of the white canvas. What am I going to do? Because all I have to do is let this dry and I could go back to white all over right away. Now let's take my larger brush, whoopsie, and this is my carbon black coming into play. Now, I did take a lot of time, not a lot of time really, to paint the entire thing red, but I'm going to cover up all the red. But you know what's going to become super important are the little bits of red that stay behind. They're going to become more energy. They're going to give a glow. Okay. See, here's the doorbell rang for somebody to come in. There we go. All right, let's go back to, let's take my painting knife. Got my painting knife here. And let's take one of my little credit cards. Even better. so far. Now I'm going to, I talked a little bit, just a touch, about skins. This is a skin on a notebook sheet protector. This is made from a product called glass bead gel. And all I did was dollop out the glass bead gel on the notebook sheet protector, let it dry, and look at this wonderful, crazy, organic shape that I ended up getting. So I'm going to experiment with it. I'm going to lay it right on there. Now, this acrylic is still wet underneath, and acrylic loves to be next to other acrylic. It sticks like glue. So this, when it's dry, will stay on there. To be safe, I'm just going to take a little more of those mediums and just get some of these hot spots here. This becomes glue. There is no way that's going anywhere. It is down. It is down. Changes the entire look. I'm kind of liking it as a neutral. So now my next decisions will be, do I want to take some paint over the glass bead gel? And I do. Because now I can start adding a sense of depth. This is coming forward. The glass bead gel pushes everything behind it back. And then all these areas that don't have the glass bead gel can push either, they kind of push a little forward. So let's kind of refine this a bit. So this is me basically playing, but coming up with something that I feel I could use later on, possibly in a larger work. You know, maybe a 6 foot by 6 foot. What a splash that would be. Or I could do some more glass bead gel skins and come up with a series of just this type of abstraction. This is an abstraction based on principles of art, elements of art, but not so much on a certain thing like architecture or music or nature. This is strictly design at this point. But I think it works out pretty well. And it kind of works well with another series I did. You see how they're related? But I'm kind of liking the way this is pushing me more into not so much a predominant red look, but a little more of a neutral look. I'm liking that. I'm going to keep that in my mental outlook there for future works. So that's how I work. And that's what I like to share with folks. And what's so wonderful about it is, let's get me back to me again. There we go. What's so great about it is when you see it in action like that, it takes the fear out of it, knowing you can always get back to it by just painting it all white again. Here's another painting I've got going on back here that I did as a demo in one of my classes using that palette that I just showed you. Okay, now let me scroll through. Oh, I got a question. What is that gel called again? Okay, so the gel I recommend for collaging and also for painting is soft gel gloss or soft gel matte. The soft gel gloss will give you a clean, crystal clear, transparent look. The soft gel gloss will give you a more translucent feel, a more antique feel. So depending on the materials you're collaging with, it kind of dictates the one you go with. For example, that glass bead gel skin, I'm going to naturally use the gloss version of the soft gel because I want that to dry crystal clear so I can see through the glass beads and back to the painting. Now, if I were using antique sheet music and I didn't want that shiny edge, I would go with the soft gel gloss. Okay, and then Michelle also asked, is that the gloss you had on the sheet protector that you pulled off? Now that one, Michelle, is called Glass Bead. Here we go. Glass Bead Gel, there we go. And it is little spheres, little tumbled spheres of glass. You see that green tint to it? That's because it is real glass that has been polished and tumbled and embedded in some gel gloss, and it dries perfectly clear, and it's like frost on a window. That's how I like to describe it. It's just beautiful. Okay. So I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint and we're going to bring it all home. So here we go. Share screen one more time. All right. So this class coming up, I just want to give you a heads up of just what's involved with it, just so you know what you have going on. And this is a project that I'm committed to. So it's something that's not going to go away. It will occur again because I know different people have different schedules, but what it is, it's a 5-week series. 4 classes will focus on that process, produce, and present that I talked about. And then the 5th class is a critique session, and we had such a good time in that. There's demos included in the first 4 classes, and then again, my summary of modern and contemporary artists. And then there's all the way through discussions on the intuitive preparation, the having fun part of abstract art, and then the intentional use when you start rounding it all up for a finished painting. So that happens as well. The whole class becomes members of a private Facebook group where we talk back and forth, we share ideas, I put videos, sometimes I jump on live. And then here's just a few of the testimonials from my founding members. They're the ones that took the big chance last month to take this class, and they gave me some encouraging feedback. And I feel that this session is going to be even better because we're really fine-tuning what they want. I had a survey at the end and asked them kind of what they were looking for, and I got some wonderful, wonderful feedback. And the one thing that really surprised me was everyone really enjoyed the art history element. So that's staying in. It leads to wonderful discussions. So not only is there a testimonial there, but also an example of the artwork that they completed in the class. And I want to thank each of them so much for their support on this. It's going to start May 4th. It's on Eventbrite right now. And you can find it on eventbrite.com, Abstraction Now, it'll pop up. It's also listed on my Art Ladders Facebook page. You can find it everywhere, the link's everywhere. But if you have any trouble, just email me. And then I want to bring your attention, Armin and I have this crazy podcast called Art Ladders, The Creative Climb. It's on Anchor FM or Spotify or Apple Podcast. We are having so much fun with this. It's every other week. And we started it during the pandemic as a way to communicate with other artists. And we're getting artists asking now to be on the podcast. And we're having, our last one was with Sally Hurst. She's a abstract artist in England. And she is an educator, top notch. And she gave lots of wonderful comments in the interview. So I encourage you to take a listen to that. And then tomorrow or Tuesday, we have a new one coming out. With Sergio Gomez. Sergio Gomez is a Chicago artist who runs an academy called Art Next Level Academy. And he is a curator and a director of an art center in Chicago and very, very, very established. So we're so lucky to have him as one of our guests as well. Online, you can find me on Valerie Allen Facebook, Art Ladders, The Creative Climb Facebook, and then Instagram. I'm using Instagram more and more. Valerie Allen Art or at Art Ladders, either one. And of course, my email is very easy to remember, valerieallenart@gmail.com. So our word for the year is discover, and we are doing it. We're discovering all sorts of new ways to get the word out about art and to connect with other artists. I want to thank you for watching this. I'll go back to me in just a moment to round out some questions. So here we go. Let me know their questions. And again, thank you so much for sharing the afternoon with me. And remember, questions can be sent via email. So let me just see if there's any more questions. I think we're good. Facebook world, I hope you caught all that. And you folks out here in Zoom, you can go on Facebook now and it will load up as a video and you can see what we talked about. And I'm just gonna, just for the fun of it, see if, I'm not quite sure why I can't get this to share, but let's try one more time just for fun. So I'll go up here, select all, and maybe this time I'll hit it. Maybe this time we'll get that to share. If not, I'm going to share it on the Facebook comments, which I plan to do anyway. No, it'll be on the Facebook comments so you can see it all there. So if y'all want to unmute yourselves and say goodbye to the crowd, it'd be great. And just, it will allow you, let me see, will it let me unmute all?
Hi, Val.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Rose. You can unmute. Thank you so much for everyone.
Thanks,
for joining.
Val.
Oh, thank you. And
Thank
hopefully I'll be seeing you either here on another Zoom or maybe in the class. So take care, everybody.
You too.
You too.
Thank you. Thanks again.